The internet, especially social media, was once imagined as a promise of human connection, democratized access to information and creative expression. Instead, many digital spaces have also become hostile environments, infested with insults, threats, harassment, and hateful comments. This is not happening in isolation. The rise of political polarization, discrimination, and hate speech in society has also moved into the digital sphere. Online, these dynamics can spread faster, reach wider audiences, and become more difficult to escape. Anonymity can create a sense of impunity, while algorithms often promote the content that generates the strongest reactions, which translates with more engagement. And just like that, what may appear as just a comment becomes part of a wider climate of exclusion, intimidation, and violence. And hate speech does not only stay online. Exposure to online hate can contribute to anxiety, fear, isolation, self-censorship, and emotional exhaustion. It can silence voices, push people away from public debate, and reinforce offline discrimination. So, how do we respond? Of course, we need better regulation, stronger platform accountability, education, digital literacy, and collective action. But we also need spaces to process and transform pain, anger, fear into expression, connection, and imagination. You may be familiar with terms like artivism, or with collectives such as Banksy or the Guerrilla Girls, people who have used art, performance, satire, and visual culture as tools for political action and social transformation. On a personal level, art can also help us name what hurts, make visible what is often ignored, and create new languages for experiences that are difficult to explain. In this first episode of Speak Up, we ask what happens when these artistic and activist traditions meet our digital realities. Can art help us process online hate? Can it become a form of resistance, healing, and community building? Can creativity open up alternative narratives in spaces often dominated by hostility? Join us in this first episode of Speak Up as we delve in these questions together.
In the face of online hate speech, create, connect, and speak up. A podcast by Together Against Online Hate Speech.
Welcome to Speak Up, a podcast brought to you by Together Against Online Hate Speech. Today, we will explore how art can become an outlet for processing our digital experiences, a starting point for collective care, and a way to imagine digital futures that are less violent, more inclusive, and more human. To do so, our guests will share their experiences of creating and facilitating artistic processes that place art and community at the center of resilience, care, and collective responses to hate speech. Our first guest is Felice Frach, Head of Communications and Public Relations at Radikale Töchter, or Radical Daughters, a project that promotes new forms of political participation through art, action, and political education. Hello, Felice. Thank you for joining us today.
Hi.
So, to begin with, could you briefly introduce Radikale Töchter and explain what you mean by combining art, action, and political education?
Yeah, sure. So we're Radikale Töchter, or Radical Daughters in English. We were founded in 2019 after some state elections in Germany that had really worrying results, especially in East Germany and with young people. And we were founded by performance artists, and they had realized while they were working as performance artists the power that this art form carries, and especially this transformative power that gave them some kind of momentum. And so they realized this power and they wanted to spread it to the masses, and especially spread it to young people. And so they developed a workshop concept that's focused on political education because they realized that political education is usually very top down, it's very stiff, and the topics are very given. There's always a focus on specific things. And so they realized that art, or specifically performance art, could be an innovative opener to get people to interact with politics, and especially to get people to interact with politics that would consider themselves as apolitical. So yeah, that were the beginnings of Radikale Töchter, and now we give workshops all over Germany and also in Europe and also further than Europe. And yeah, we try to get young people enthusiastic about politics again.
And your work often encourages young people to move from frustration or helplessness into action.
Mhm.
So, how can artistic practices help transform emotions such as anger, fear, or sadness into public engagement?
Yeah, so emotions are at the center of art and at the center of our work. We especially work with rage or with anger. We accept it and we explicitly ask for it. So at the start of every workshop, we ask the attendees, what makes you angry at the moment? And usually it doesn't sound very political at the beginning, but those topics are 99% of the time always political. And we've learned through our work that then working with these emotions through art is a method that is very transformative. And you take this anger and you focus it onto something, and in the best case, make your own performance art. And it's very different to this typical approach to political education, and really gets
Mhm.
people to concentrate on their own issues and transforming them into something powerful.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And when carrying out these workshops, do you notice some common concerns or fears among participants, or what are the main challenges you encounter when doing these workshops?
Yeah, so we work with a very different large group of people. So I wouldn't say that there's common concerns that we have in every workshop that are the same. But of course, the political landscape always has an influence on how people are feeling and what makes them angry. And I mean, this is very specific to our methods. We explicitly work with the topics of the participants. Um, of course, people sometimes can be very hesitant about our approach, or again, maybe they're apolitical. They don't want to have anything to do with politics.
Mhm.
But because it's so new and because art is also so personal, um, we make the experience that people open up to us and actually want to get involved and want to make their issues into something that's powerful. I think powerful is very the main word here.
Yeah, thank you. And so, right now, we are living in a time where individualistic views are increasingly dominant.
Mhm.
And as we know, this can become fertile ground for anti democratic narratives and hate based discourses. So in this scene, how can art encourage participation, community, and collective engagement, not only among young people, but
Mhm.
also among people who feel alienated from these collective realities?
Yeah. So I definitely think that art is perfect at encouraging, especially community. In our workshops, we always encourage people to not work by themselves, but to form groups in which they work, especially because people tend to share, the topics that are brought up in the workshops. Um, and art tends, from our experience, tends to have the power to change things, even if they might feel small at the beginning. And because again, it's a thinking outside of the box. You get to go along paths that maybe you didn't have in your mind before, and you find new ways to talk about your problems. And also because when creating your own performance art, you always have to connect with other people. You need to know somebody that's maybe very good at talking to the state. Oh, how can we organize that our performance can happen at the specific location? Or does somebody maybe know somebody that's very good at social media to help us get the word out? So by creating this art together, you have to get into contact with other people. And because you're working together on one topic, there is community formed always.
Thank you. And also like highlighting this collective perspective, right? You were saying.
Mhm.
So in the project we are working on, we focus particularly on social media and its more hostile side that we can see. And very often this hostility does not appear as hatred, as explicit hatred,
Mhm.
but is reproduced through memes or messages and trends that we encounter in everyday life,
Mhm.
online interactions. So,
Mhm.
how do you understand the role of such individualized digital spaces in the spread of hate speech?
Yeah, I do. I definitely do think that they play a role. So again, with us at Radikale Töchter, we especially work with young people. So we really also focus on our online appearance. We do a lot of social media, and I mean, definitely the digital space. It's anonymous. It's very fast paced, and I think especially young people think that it's very harmless because oh, I'm just writing a comment. It's not in the real world. There's no direct confrontation. I'm not saying this to anybody to their face. And I do think that it normalizes it, and there could be a swap of, oh, I can do it in the digital space. Maybe I can also do it in the real world. And again, I think especially for young people, they learn a kind of behavior online that they could also carry out on the in the real world. So I do think that the digital space plays a role in this for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you touched a little bit on this, but do you think it's important to intervene directly in social media spaces and in online expressions of hate? Or do you think it's also important to let physical spaces such as where spaces like people can meet or create and act together? What do you think about this?
I think unfortunately, I have to say that both are important. I think again, because social media plays such a big role, it's important to um, also normalize being positive and nice on there. And then again, with the hate swapping into the real world, you would also hope for the positivity to swap into the or go into the real world. Um, and of course, I do think that the real world has more of an impact because this is the direct confrontation. You have to do it to somebody to their face. So I do believe that the real world is more important, but with the rise of social media and in digital spaces in general, we cannot just let it go, and we also have to stand up there. And I think it's just good practice to do it where it's maybe a little bit easier because then in the future you might also do it where it's a little bit harder, which is the real world.
And we are reaching the end of our interview, so I would ask you to give us some advice. What would you say to someone who feels overwhelmed by the polarization, intolerance, and hate they encounter online, but still they want to respond in a creative and in a more meaningful way?
Yeah, so it's very cliche, I would say, but what we always encourage people to do is to be brave. And the funny thing is that you never feel brave while you're doing a brave thing. You always feel very scared and anxious and, oh, am I doing the right thing? But after you've done it, it kind of sticks with you and you realize, oh, I've done this brave thing once. I went outside of my comfort zone. Maybe I can do it again. And you will just keep going. And also, I would, touching back on a community, rally your people. I mean, there's good resources on the internet, but also in real life where you can connect to people that maybe have the same feelings as you, and then doing something alone is always scarier than doing it with a community. So, being brave and rallying your people is what I would recommend.
Mhm. Thank you very much. So we end with this positive message of yours. Thank you again, Felice Frach, for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Moving from facilitating artistic processes to experiencing them firsthand, Our next guests are two theater and music students who are involved in creative projects and will share their perspectives on the relationship between art and hate speech. They both also took part in one of the pop-up open art spaces that we organized. Welcome, Andrea and Louis, and thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you.
Hi.
So to begin with, could you briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a bit of the role of art in your daily lives?
Well, I am a theater student, as you said. Art is everywhere in my life right now. I'm participating in a musical. I was studying Shakespeare. I'm doing concerts and a bunch of stuff related to the arts. I'm working as a theater teacher, and well, art is, as you can see, very much part of my life, a very, very important part of my life. And it's everything.
Hi, my name is Louis, and I'm a singer, and also I'm studying in a music school, and I have my art in everything I do. That's very good. And also with Andrea, we're all day together. We're in the same band. We do theater together. It's so cool. And yeah, every time I have music, it makes me very happy to be that opportunity to be always connected with music and art. I think it's very beautiful.
Thank you. And building on that, do artistic practices have a direct impact on your emotional well-being? For example, do they help you process emotions or express things that are maybe difficult to explain? What would you say about this?
I have the feeling, like I said, I always with music and art. So I'm in peace with myself all the time, also connecting with people through music and everything. And I think, that helps me a lot to be managing stress and some issues sometimes. It's,
Yeah, art, it's a safe space for, everything that's going on. When you don't have a very easy life, it's very easy to get lost in your own troubles and issues and everything. But art is like this way of expressing them without hurting yourself and being able to create something out of, everything that's going on. And it's great.
Thank you. And does your relationship with art influence the way you engage with social media? Would you say you express yourself artistically through your social media accounts, for example?
Oh, totally. Everything, my music career, it's on my profile all time. I like to share with people the career I'm building. And every time it's art with my profile of Instagram and social media. It's so connected. Yeah, definitely.
I don't really use that much social media, but when I do use it, I do think that art is influencing me. But basically because art influences everything I do in some way or another. So I do post, with him and our band. We post shorts and lives and things we do. And, I don't use it much, but when I do use it, it's because of art. So.
And based on your experience, is hate speech something you encounter in your daily lives? For example, maybe as a witness or because you experience it? How would you relate to hate speech?
We are both part of groups that are very much discriminated against. So had some instances of some, homophobia or sexism or stuff that does hurt a little, but, whatever, it happens.
Yeah, and the problem is we have always the same question, why people have to be always putting down some other people and you have to be hating. We don't understand why we have to discriminate people just because they are different from us, or maybe they are not. But the necessity, we don't understand. It's horrible. Yeah.
So if you encounter hate speech online, would you say it affects you emotionally and socially?
Yeah, it affects us because we know that we have this here with us and we don't know when it's going to happen to us. Maybe that's the thing with, sometimes we can be even scared when we saw, for example, homophobia on social media or in the street. We can see it everywhere. I'm like, okay, now I'm here, I'm okay, but we don't know tomorrow what is going to happen. So it's emotionally, it hurts a lot. And we don't know about the social, where people, we have to wake up and do the things right. I don't know, yeah.
It's also exhausting. I mean, we move in spaces that are very much safe spaces with art, and everyone's very accepting and open and everything. But there are times where you enter a social media or something and you find yourself surrounded by people that do not agree with you, that demean you and hate you for who you are. And it's confusing and exhausting at the same time because, well, why? So unnecessary. But, you go on, and as always.
And you both took part in one of the open up pop-up spaces that we organized. And what were your first thoughts when you heard that we would be connecting online hate with art and artistic activities?
We were kind of already doing something related to that. So at first, being 100% honest, I was like, oh, wow, again? But it's such an interesting mix, because yes, art is everything in my life, and social media isn't everything, but it's like a present part, a very present part in everyone's life. So mixing those two seems like strange, but also kind of inevitable, it was bound to happen. It was strange, okay, but I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, and also we like the idea of using art to talk about social things that are happening here. So it's like, okay, it's a way of working and evolving, to transform everything here.
What stayed with you after taking part in this experience? Did it change the way you think about hate speech, about your own emotions?
I don't know if everything changes us in some measure, but it changed us in a way of being more informed of these things and gaining this a lot of knowledge of how to use something we love, like art, against something we hate, and how to overpower all this hate with, our fondness for art.
Yeah, and also to set some limits, and every time being more strict with that limits. Sometimes we're like, okay, we see hate here, I don't know what to do, so let it doesn't happen to me, so we don't care. But now it's every time we talk more about it, so we have really to be doing something. So the limits have to be really strict.
And as you said, Andrea, this was not the first time that you were connecting art with hate speech. So could you maybe elaborate a bit on those previous experiences?
Well, we were part of a project. I was part of the management and the teacher part of the project. He was more of a participant.
A student.
It was weird being my best friend's teacher, but it's fine. And we did, it was basically that, how to combat hate speech online with theater and artistic expression. And we even did a trip to Palermo for this project, and well, it's coming along. It's educating us in everything surrounding this world. And yeah, it was.
And maybe more broadly, how does art affect the way you relate to conflict, whether online or in your community or in your personal life?
The thing I'm always thinking is when you do something with art, you have this sensibility. We're very sensitive. We think a lot about we're always like, when I have for example, a conflict with Andrea, both we are very sensitive, so we know we cannot just pass the problem. We have really to be talking, and we have the empathy. We really want to build something and learn something about the thing that happened. So yeah, when you have art in your life, you're very aware of people, problems, people lives, and yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, I mean, we're taught from like a very young age that sensitivity and all of these things are something to be ashamed of, but art shows us that they're not, and that it's something very useful for our daily lives. And yeah, it's what he said. It helps us communicate with everyone and handle inner conflicts and outer conflicts.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And how do you think collective artistic spaces can help people feel less alone when dealing with hate, discrimination, or difficult emotions that are hard to handle?
A lot. They can help a lot.
It's a safe space.
Yeah, it's just helping you handle everything in the world. And art is just like a way to bring yourself to new places and new experiences, knowing and having the tools to combat these things that are like very hateful and very problematic in our daily life. Daily lives. Yes. And well, safe spaces. I mean, we're part of a.
That's the thing.
I mean, we are part of.
Talk about. That's one of the goals of Chamfra, the center, the music center that we're every day now.
And we met there, and we've been there since we were very little. And it is basically its purpose to create a safe space for people with less fortune, that like, you know, they're less fortunate, and people who have family problems or money problems, or, you know, there are more vulnerable to the world, you know?
That's what I was I was like, maybe.
And well, Chamfra, it's that safe space that everyone should have in their lives.
Mm-hmm. It's very nice and interesting how art can play this role of safe place. So we are reaching the end of our interview. So the final question would be, what would you say to someone who does not consider themselves an artist or a creative person, but still wants to express their feelings or themselves through a more creative way?
First off, I think everyone is an artist. I think artists in everyone. I mean, it's human nature to be artists. I mean, we were painting in caves in the beginning of our existence. We were singing and telling stories, and it's something that's ingrained in our nature. I do think that human beings are good by nature and artistic and creative by nature. Yeah, so don't try to deny yourself the pleasure of experiencing art, even if you think you're not creative or good at it, because, well, we've been conditioned to think that being good at something is the purpose of doing an activity, and it's not. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be good at art to do art.
Yeah.
If you really don't want to do art, or because you really think you're not creative or artistic enough, just find your own art. Just make it yourself, or find it yourself, and find that thing that makes you go, yes, this will help me.
She said everything. I mean, I wanted to say that everyone can be creative, yeah? And you have to find your way. Some of them, they are like, oh, yeah, but I cannot dance, so I'm not gonna dance. Okay, but do you feel good dancing? That's the thing we want. Sometimes we're not finding the best voice, and no, just we want to have fun.
Yeah.
And to be good with ourselves and just enjoying life. That's the thing. And art is a good way to do it. Mm-hmm. So be creative, do what your heart says. Please, just keep going.
Thank you. And we're finishing in that hopeful note. And thank you again, Andrea and Louis, for being here and for sharing your perspectives.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And with this, we come to an end of today's episode of Speak Up. Today, we have explored how art can help us process the impact of hate speech, transform feelings of fear, anger, or helplessness, and imagine collective ways of responding to violence online. From political education and artistic action to personal and collective creative experiences, our guests have reminded us that art is not only a form of expression, but also a way of building community and opening up new possibilities. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next episode of Speak Up. Speak Up is a podcast by Together Against Online Hate Speech, hosted by Maria Radua with the participation of Radikale Töchter and Felice Frach. Post-production by Ivan Colon. Script, coordination and production by Fundi Pau. Funded by the European Union.